The Top 20 Video Game Music Show. Songs selected by Rudi, Kris, Claudio, Longbow, Steve, Prince, xenmas. This first one chosen by Rudi from Police Quest 2. It is Intro, composed by Mark Seibert. That's a really nice banger. I love that pedaling drum, that really solitary snare drum. Sorry, the pedaling bass, the low synth, and that reverby snare gives it that late 80s synth sound, late 80s sort of cop show, cop movie, Beverly Hills Cop, all that kind of shit. Just beautiful synth work. And even though a lot of the synths in this don't sound super immaculate or super high fidelity, you know, it's obviously not trumpets, but you know they're trying to be trumpets. And I think they totally work because everything else is synth and is that same synth. So those trumpets don't stand out like they would perhaps if you're listening to a more modern track where you have some real stuff or things trying to sound real and then a cheesy horn sound. Horns can be hard to make sound good unless you have really good samples. Anyway, that was Police Quest 2, the intro. Well, let's move on. Next up, chosen by Kris from This Is the Police. This is Take a Walk, composed by Ben Matthews. That is beautiful. What's so cool about that is that it gives it that noir, smoky jazz feel because they're using real instruments in performance, but they only have piano, bass, drums, and the one saxophone. So, and because it sounds like they're all playing together, and they sound recorded together, it feels like you can hear the room. So it feels like it's not over the top. They're not throwing in anything extra. They're not layering a bunch of stuff because they can. So because there's only that one horn, it feels like you are in a small club. And because it's so improvisational, the drums are able to like really go all over the place. It gives it that feel like you are in a club and it's dark. And everything feels very era-specific. It actually sounds incredibly similar to the opening of Summertime by Ella Fitzgerald. in Berlin, I believe. Let's have a quick listen. So, just a refresher. Okay, now Ella Fitzgerald. Summertime 1968.
The First Lady.
Much slower.
And the living is easy.
Anyways, sounded pretty similar to me. Summertime and the living easy. Fish are jumping. Next up, chosen by Claudio from Apollo Justice. This is Tell the Truth. Alright, that is a short little loop. Man, that's really nice. By the way, the composer of this track is Toshiyuki Horiyama. I really love those little xylophone bits near the end of it, just to kind of build on it a little bit more. Sounds like the main character going on a bittersweet mission in space. I can see that, yeah. Kind of with those like synths that have just a little bit of delay. It does give a bit of like a sci-fi. It definitely, to me, sounds like there's a lot of like time is maybe running out, and there's a bit of a pressure, and there's a lot of thinking. You know, you can feel it kind of twisting and turning down the drain. The clock is ticking, the sweat is forming, and everything has to be very, very precise. There's that xylophone at the end. Beautiful track. Next up, chosen by Longbow from Final Fantasy XIV, this is Mobius, composed by Masayoshi Soken. Oh my god, I'm such a sucker for that B section. So much heroic drama. But I love in the beginning, there's a lot of frenetic energy and movement with these low horns and low strings, which gives it I find that those low strings and horns give a very official, kind of like a courtroom drama feel to it. And there's a lot of frenetic energy swirling around, but there's still this sort of confidence that it feels very contained, where there's a lot of things happening, lives are going to be changed, things need to be processed, but the long arm of the law has got you covered. Next up from Steve, chosen from The Great Ace Attorney. This is Trial and Disorder, composed by Yasumasa Kitagawa and Hiromitsu Maeba. Man, there is a lot going on in that track. That is beautiful. We have more swirling low strings and horns. They are responded by those like tumbling chromatic high notes. And then right in the middle, you've got the drama swirling with those long notes. So much tension. And then underneath it, you've got the quarter notes of those low bass and a little bit of percussion. There's a pulse, and it's quick. It's not quite a run, but it's faster than a walk and more intentioned. And it sounds like it's maybe going through some dark alleyways, or you're so close to finding the answer, and there's a bit of like almost an insanity to it. It's an excitement, maybe trying to catch somebody before they strike again. Next up, Prince has brought us Let's Contribute, Million Year Sentence of Love from Freedom Wars, composed by Kemmei, Adachi, and Yasui Toshiyuki. Last song's still stuck in my head.
「
Protect, they want to contribute. These are the girls of Freedom Wars. Really modernish of a certain era. Synthy dance pop track. It's got a lot of energy to it. It's got a lot of fun. A lot of times when you just jam dubstep into these tracks from this era, it can sound very forced, but I find that it works pretty well. I think it's pretty fun. Let's contribute. I think it's got a lot of swagger to it and a lot of energy in it, and it's got some nice quirkiness to it. It's a really fun track. Definitely sounds like it's from a different universe than the ones we've just been listening to, but that's the fun part of everybody contributing to this. This one's chosen by xenmas from Astral Chain. It is Task Force Neuron, composed by Satoshi Igarash. If you think of it as a Law and Order song, it can sound a little too partyish and loose and positive for that. But if you think of it as a party song, it's a bit serious. So it kind of makes sense as like you're putting this sort of detective Law and Order spin on more of a party track, more of a club track. It sounds like the case is just starting, just heating up, just getting interesting, just getting sexy. No one's been killed yet. Nothing's been lost. Everything's still going well. They've got the first lead. It's at a nightclub in Neo Tokyo. Neon everywhere. The detective recognizes the bartender as an ex. It's tied to the case. It's still tied to their heart. All right, Chris has brought us the Judge Magister boss theme from Final Fantasy XII, composed by not Nobuo Uematsu, but Hitoshi Sakimoto. Man, that is really nice. It definitely does have a Star Wars feel to it, and maybe a little more prequely or a little more sequely. Not quite from the original. I don't know why that is. I think the original Star Wars had a bit more like hope and optimism, a bit more energy. I think it was really exciting, what they were creating in the 70s for it, late 70s, early 80s. And as Star Wars got older and heavier and more pressure, I feel like this would reflect something there. There's more of that weight to it. The anvil hits. There's a lot of the song is really controlled more by the lower strings. Again, we're hearing a lot of that in a lot of these low strings, low horns that are dominating and controlling all the movements, and then you have the stabs of the higher stuff, like the scales of justice. Next up, xenmas has chosen Abdiel Battle from Shin Megami Tensei 5. This is composed by Ryota Kozuka. Yeah, nice track. I like its use of 7/8 time, where you have that right at the end of it. 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It gives it this weird kind of you're expecting something. It's like you hit a wall. What I like about it is that it sounds tough, but it sounds constrained. It sounds like somebody's coming to do something, and there is no way that they're going to waver. Like Judge Dredd is here, and you are not going to persuade Judge Dredd. He's not going to go soft on you. He's not going to change his mind. Here's the law. Here's the law. Prince has brought us a track from Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Sky. This is Wigglytuffs Guild, composed by Arata Iyoshi. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Yeah, it definitely does. It sounds like people are playing at being a patrol. You've got this marching band, percussion, and feel. It's got a tough swagger to it, but in a very cartoony way. You have a very sort of silly, farty bass wind instrument. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. There's a lot of... The way that it sort of slurs up, just gives it a really sort of silly, like it's not quite in control a little bit. It's very loose, casual, funny, silly. Kids patrolling the neighborhood. Absolutely. I love it. Chris nailed it. Next up, chosen by Rudi from Loop Hero. This is Star Judgment, composed by Alexander Blinch Gorslavets. Oh yeah, like Chris says, knocking over cyberpunk trash cans through cyberpunk alleyways. It has these 80s hard synth sounds, but the A section uses these fast triplet kicks where they're going boom, tick boom, boom, tick boom, the way a modern trap sound would use hi-hats, right? So it's a really nice mix of sort of modern sensibilities, older sounds that just fit the, as you can see, it's like a very, very purely retro-styled game. This, it's amazing actually, like looking at the gameplay and thinking in your mind how cool of a game this song could score. I mean, maybe Loop Hero is an amazing game too, but it really feels like there should be a lot more action going on. It's awesome. Works for a conflict between humans' ideology of judgment and demons. Amazing track. Next up, Longbow has brought us from Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Trials and Tribulations, Trial, composed by Noriyuki Iwadare. That is a badass track. I love the swagger on that double time beat and bass, the pedaling melody. There it is. Those big synth string pads really make it sound very emotionally heavy. Oh man, it just has such a like serious 80s montage feel. Things are happening. It's just got... It's so fun and so serious. It's just having so much fun being a serious cup theme. Claudio has brought us the law theme from Shin Megami Tensei 4, composed by To Be Announced. Yeah, you know, that's an interesting point, is that this is really going for a very choir feel, a very, like, heavenly feel, and it's about law. And it makes you think of when religion was created, the argument that religion is created as a means to try to control people, right? Just saying it's an argument for it, okay? And that, you know, you have to do good things so you go to heaven. If you do bad things, you'll go to hell, and that really works out if everybody follows these rules. And then when you hear this, or like the law putting sort of a religion on their side with like this heavenly way to make the law seem more important than it is, right? Like, you must follow this law because it is the word of God, and we are an extension of them. Oh, and the composer of that last track was Ryota Kozuka, who also went on to do Shin Megami Tensei 5. This track, chosen by Steve from The Great Ace Attorney. Again, this is Confess the Truth, composed by Yasumasa Kitagawa and or Hiromitsu Maeba. Yeah, once again, just like the last one, we're hearing big pipe organ, which at the time was one of the biggest things created by people, created by humans. the massive pipe organs that would exist in these massive churches. While people lived in very small, modest settlements, the church would stand high and tall above all, projecting that sense of order, a sense of control, a sense of something here is never going to change. We have that a lot here. When I drive through the tiny, tiny Quebec villages and see people's tiny little houses and a beacon in the middle of these tiny villages of maybe a couple thousand people are these massive churches, 70 feet high, made out of stone, have been there for hundreds of years, are going to last longer than all the houses surrounding it. Every era, those houses fade away and more are built, but none will ever reach the length of time that that church has stood still. And those big pipe organs in those churches, because this was like a human technology that didn't require electricity, didn't require gas, just like pure wind and just the force and the physics of it. That's why Hans Zimmer used a lot of pipe organ in Interstellar he thought, what is the most powerful man-made instrument I can use? And it's that pipe organ. Huge. All right. Chris has brought us Visitation from Prison Architect, and we're seeing another appearance from the composer Alistair Lindsay, who first appeared on our show, to our knowledge, on our non-Japanese composers theme from a couple weeks ago. Is that the end? No. It loops. What a beautiful track. I love this because it's very, very thoughtful and it's very organic. And when you think of prison, you think very cold, very sterile, very tough. Oh, it doesn't loop. It just gets darker. Very, very sinister and thoughtful. Great track. So what I was saying from the beginning of it, if you think of jail as very cold and sterile and aggressive and closed off, where you're trying to protect yourself and survive, you have a lot of time to think. And I like this part here, this visitation. It feels like an oasis. Like, I don't know, your girlfriend comes to see you, or your mother, whatever. Somebody who sees you and only has love for you, as opposed to maybe being in jail and you're looking around and making sure you're not going to get jumped or taken advantage of. I mean, this could fit right into The Last of Us, and in one of those quiet, nice, warm moments, you like come across a baby deer or something. You share some food with it. And then that second piece, I mean, I guess it's trying to probably explain something happening in that story. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is very, very sinister. It just morphs from this beautifulness to really twisted, dark, and then just like crazy backwards delayed electric guitar. From xenmas, we have another Atlas game here, Persona 5. This is The Whims of Fate, composed by Shoji Meguro. Oh, man. That's awesome. I mean, Persona 5 uses this on a lot of its tracks. Really very, very funky, a lot of layered percussion, bass lines going all over the place, but super dancey, and really dense electric piano with some fun stereo panning. And then this, like, campy vocal performance over top of it that I'm not really a huge fan of, but I do like the music. And it gives the whole game a feeling of a 1970s crime heist, police heisty thriller, but like a fun thriller. It's all about, it's the Ocean's 11. It's about the using style and sex appeal, Charlie's Angels, where you're doing ordinary people doing these extraordinary things, getting one past the man, taking over corporate America with pure personality and the human spirit. Next up, I don't know how much we can show from this game, but this is chosen by Prince. It's from Lula Wet, The Sexy Empire. This track is Police Station, composed by Karsten Korte. If this is a cop station, it's somewhere down in very sleazy area of Miami. It sounds hot. It sounds sweaty. It sounds a little corrupt. But I like the sort of investigation feel. It's got a curiosity to it. Dun, 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 dun. Especially with those sort of bells. And that sort of heavy, plodding, half-beat drums. You do have to bang your way out of jail when you get locked behind bars. Can happen to any of us. Next up, Claudio has brought us... Nope. This is from Rudi, from Trails from Zero, CSPD, Crossbell State Police Department, composed by Masanori Osaki. Man, I love the instrumentation of this. It's got a sci-fi City of the Future feel, but it's also very, very organic, very islandy, very warm sounding. The instrument choices sound like they could be like a steel pan drum band, but the way the music is, it's very like precise, but still a bit groovy. The accordion appearing in there really surprised me, but given the sort of like futuristic vibe of it and the organic sound of these like island instruments, I think the accordion works, and it makes it feel like, well, maybe in this future, in this place, music has evolved so that you could use a very non-traditional sounding instrument for this. But I really, really love this groove and the melody and just how thoughtful it makes everything sound. It definitely sounds serious, but like positive, and just kind of a bit like exotic, sci-fi exotica. Yeah, with this music and the way the game looks, I feel like I'd want to give this a try. Quick episode today. We are on to our penultimate track, chosen by Claudio, from Magic the Gathering Duels of the Planeswalkers. This is Karn Theme. Composed by Peter Schlosser. Wow, that is a really nice track. Yeah, I like where you're going with that. It sounds like the tone of it is this dark fantasy, eastern deserty sound, but then they use the percussion is like very kind of glitchy, futuristic, dark, kind of cyberpunk. It really reminds me of the work John Everest did on, that's right, he's going to mention it, Shadowrun, Dragonfall. So if you like this track, Claudio, check out the Shadowrun Dragonfall soundtrack by John Everest. Really beautiful. All right, we've reached the last track, and it is chosen by me. It is from Police Knots. This is the end title, composed by Tapi Iwase. If you are watching this on YouTube, this is where the video will end. If you want to join the show and you want to pick songs, join our Discord. If the link doesn't work in the YouTube video, comment, and I will personally hand deliver you a link via reply. And you can join the show. And you can be like Rudi, Kris, Claudio, Longbow, Steve, Prince, Xenmas, and even Horky. Here is Police Knots, end title.